Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 16, another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week. So as ever, if you like it, give it a share, but let's crack on. First one is a interesting demo or set of demos from Lever Mullen, who is a games developer and also does these kind of demos. Has released a few last year that I was looking at as well using liquids, but now has gone into kind of sculpting and how can you sculpt with interesting effects using hand tracking and that sort of thing. So it's using a real-time Unity engine and augmented reality and a liquid library, but it's just really interesting. I'm doing pottery sculpting at the moment, and this is very similar. It's great fun. I just really like this. I want to get my hands on it and have a play with it, quite literally. This is the state of the art in brain computers. What are brain computers, you might ask? Well, these are computers that use brain cells, in this case grown from mouse stem cells. So 80,000 brain cells were grown and then put into a sort of fiber optic network, and sequences of light pulses were shown to the brain cells and they reacted to those. And if you then turn it off and then turn it back on again, it can remember what was actually, so it can basically process the signals and recognize whether they were correct or not, i.e. logic. So that's kind of cool. There was all sorts of things that they did in this to make it work. They've used some sort of different sort of catalysts and chemicals and things like that, but got it up to a fairly good accuracy. So this is really quite interesting because obviously if you're talking about neural networks right now, then they're trying to mimic brains, so you might as well actually use the brain cells to do that. And also there's a certain amount of repairing that can go on and rewiring of it live if anything gets damaged. So it's really interesting how computers might be actually turning just to the brains that actually sort of almost created them in the first place. But there you go, that's what it looks like. Sorry it's a bit low res, but that's what it looks like. Well done to the people at the University of Illinois. Adobe have launched, finally, we've been hearing about this for a while, Firefly, which is their generative AI platform. So thank you to Yop for putting me onto this by sharing lots of really weird pictures of hands. So if you've been following generative AI, you know that it's having real problem with fingers and hands, and this is no different. So I'm not quite sure this is the best version that it can possibly be. However, this is built into the platform, so if you want to do, and if I'm being a little bit facetious here, if you'll do all the things that artists are paid to do and have been paid to do and are quite frankly given Adobe all their money over the years to do, then all of a sudden the computer can now do it for you. Of course, Adobe are pitching this as, a creative co-pilot or assistant to help you do those tasks more efficiently. But let's face it, you know that this is going to be creating posters and, I lost my cat posters pretty badly, but there you go. However, if you're really interested in it, then you can sign up for the beta and all that sort of good stuff. It is available. This is news coming out of Montana. Who'd have thought? I've had an update on Montana, but there is a bill going through the state legislative law in Montana that basically says that they are trying to ban TikTok. Now we've heard that it's already been banned on government devices, and there are lots of states thinking of doing this, but it's the most advanced in Montana. It's now just past the next step, and there's only one step to go, which is actually the person you see on the left here, which is Greg Giaforte, I guess, Giaforte. He has to sign it, and if he signs it, and it's not sure whether he will or not, has declined to comment on it, but if he does sign it, it basically means that TikTok will be illegal to offer in Montana. Now what that really means is whoever is offering it, i.e. app stores, will be fined $10,000 a day for every instance, apparently. I don't know whether that's just offering or whether everybody is allowed to do it per user, not sure. If you are a user of TikTok in Montana, you can still use it. It's just and I'm not sure how this is going to work, but you are now not allowed to be offered TikTok in Montana. If it's a global app store, not quite sure how that's going to work, but there you go. But watch that space. That might cause the pack of cards to collapse on TikTok in America. Auto-GPT is really interesting, but what this is really about is autonomous GPT-4 being sort of fed into itself to learn. So this is, as you see here, what I'm actually asking it for. You might not recognize it, but Manitou Mark 1s, which are actually these forks behind me, quite rare retro forks from mountain bikes. And basically, can you find me a set of Manitou 1 forks cheap enough to make a lamp out of? Because I want 2 of them. And what it's now doing is it's now trying to figure out how to do that, i.e. it is being an assistant, an agent for you. So what it's now doing is it's saying, look, I'm going to eBay, I found a couple there's some good in fair condition, but if cheap enough, so what does cheap feel like? In which case, what you really want to do is want to get a set quicker and cheaper. So what I'll do is I'll contact them and I'll ask them for some sort of discount. I've done that. What would you like me to do? Really, really interesting. I've set this to task on a few things right now. Trying to take caffeine out of a coffee cake I gave it. It was really interesting. So well, the first step to do is try and find out what ingredient has caffeine in it. And is it possible to take it out of the cake, or do you have to do it before you've actually baked the cake? It was really, really interesting. So this is kind of the new thing that's taking the buzz in GPT at the moment, which is not just getting it to do a thing from its learning, but use it to repetitively go back in and learn and do step after step after step after step, and interface with the real world to do that. So go and have a play at Agent GPT. You can actually download it and play with it on your computer, or you can just do it online, which is what I'm doing here. But it's really, really interesting. Ethereum has made a big move this week. So on April the 11th was EOS 12th, actually was a big, big moment. So Ethereum has moved from proof of work to proof of stake. Now, if you don't know what that means, it can be a kind of complicated, but what we're talking about is how our transactions on the blockchain actually calculated. You might have heard of proof of work, which is why you will also probably have heard of Bitcoin uses a huge amount of energy, and there's X amount of the world's resources going to Bitcoin mining. That's proof of work. You have to do very hard sums to figure out whether the transaction is legit or not. Proof of stake is really anybody with some cryptocurrency, Ethereum, can say, look, I'm trusted and I will put up my stake just to try and do one of these transactions. And it's like a lottery. And if you're trusted enough and you've got some money to basically prove that you are legit, they'll give you the transaction to do. You'll do it. You'll get a little bit of a kickback for doing that. So it's not thousands of people all rushing to try and do these really hard sums. It's people just putting up a stake and it being offered to one person, essentially. So it is far more energy efficient. It is 99.84% more energy efficient. And the final move happened on April the 12th. So we are now on Ethereum proof of stake. Bitcoin is still on the other one, proof of work, and therefore is still very polluting. But there you go. Well done, Ethereum. And finally, we have the thing that you probably never really wanted. So you've got Microsoft Teams has teamed up with Snapchat, and especially the lenses. So this is only available in the work commercial version, not in the sort of public version or educational version. But if you go into your settings and your company has allowed this, or specifically not unallowed it, then you can now add all of these amazing things to you, like you can put a chicken on your head and you can be hugged by a bear, and all the things that will make every single Teams meeting you've ever been on even worse. So, so I can't imagine. Please don't do this if you're in a meeting with me. However, if this really floats your boat, then go for it. According to Microsoft, video calls make up 78% of the positive memories in meetings. I don't even know what that means, but there you go. If the world needed this, then okay, that's interesting. But go and have a check of your settings. If you do use Teams, see if your company has allowed it, and be the first to surprise your workmates. There you go. Hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully it was useful. I will see you again next week.